Welcome to Diary of a Dreamer, where resilience unlocks your potential. I'm Tasha Eisinger, and each week I'll bring you powerful stories and practical insights from my own experiences and inspiring guests. Whether you're facing challenges or chasing dreams, this podcast is your go-to for motivation, building confidence, and practical tips for transforming obstacles into opportunities. Be sure to check out my website, tashaeisinger.com. Let's dive into today's episode and start turning your dreams into reality. All right, Kelly, here we go. Another episode together, which has been incredible. I know that I've been getting some feedback from listeners and they're really liking the series, as well as having you on because you do such a great job interviewing and everything. So yeah, I appreciate you being a part of it and helping me share my story in a way that's like safe, because there's many things I can't publicly share or won't. It's not appropriate or whatever.
Yeah.
But you've been with me definitely through my 30s in a very big way when I desperately needed a very stable, grounded, amazing friend like you. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, truly my pleasure. And, I think that, and we'll talk about this a little bit too, but like friends are so important, and having good friends that you can trust, that can be that sounding board. There's not words to describe the value of that. And so I think, some people are like, oh, I don't have very many friends. You know what? That's okay. If you've got one or two solid ride or dies, like, you are beyond blessed. And I am so blessed that I get to count you as one of my ride or dies. So,
I got your back 100%, girl.
Yep.
Life. I mean, for real.
Yep.
And so I agree. It's not the quantity, it's definitely the quality of the relationships that you have. And hopefully people are listening and maybe they're evaluating their friendships too and thinking like, maybe I need to be on a quest to find healthier friendships, or maybe I can learn how to be a better friend myself. Because I think, like I tell my kids, like, you first have to be a good friend and do what you can to be a kind friend and a supportive, encouraging friend. But yeah, hopefully everybody listening has at least one friend though, because I don't know where I would be without you and so many of these amazing women that we have in our lives. So
I feel like this little thread of conversation is the perfect segue into the part of your story we're talking about today, because it really is diving into personal relationships and friendships and what not to do and what to do. Like, here's what we learned from these experiences. And I also, just on a side note, I can tell you, in my life, I can think of at least like a half dozen, like just off the top of my head, situations where I had friendships where I learned some things about what not to do. So I feel like we all have those stories. It's not like that's a unique thing to anyone. Just not all of them are quite as crazy as your story. Some of them are crazier, let's be honest, but yours is definitely it's an interesting narrative. So
yeah,
before we head into that, can you give like a little recap of what we talked about last time, and like where your head was at as you were heading into your relationship with person, are we calling him person number two?
person two.
Person two.
Yeah. So yeah, I think all of this is very relatable, but you're right. There's like a level of like intensity with a couple of these relationships that I could have never expected. So yeah, we talked, first of all, we've mentioned this every episode, that neither one of us have degrees in mental health fields at all. We're not diagnosing professionally, but both of these, person one and person two, who shall remain nameless out of respect as well as safety, they would fit into what would be like the cluster B category, which would be borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, histrionic, and then they're now putting like psychopath, sociopath into the same category, even though I've been seeing that that's a little bit controversial. So those people, operate very different and function very differently. Person 2 did actually have a diagnosis within that cluster B.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's not you diagnosing.
No.
That's you saying.
Yes, that's an actual, like, legitimate diagnosis. And I did not take the time to look into borderline personality disorder. Who I am today, I could definitely be friends with somebody who has borderline personality disorder. So if anybody's listening is like, oh, I have that diagnosis, it's like, no, you can still find friendships. It's just the dynamic needs to be very clear instead of enmeshed, which is very easy to do, I think, with somebody who has BPD. And so basically what happened with person 2 was things just really spiraled very quickly and became very big, really fast. And I think all the cluster Bs, I'm not sure, but they do something called love bombing.
Mhm.
So it can even be like platonic love bombing. And so Kelly knows I have this joke. If somebody gives me too many compliments when they first meet me, I'm like, I don't trust those people.
It's like triggering.
It is like, that's a little too nice.
I mean, honestly, though, I feel the same way. You know, if somebody is too kind, you're like, what do you want?
Yes.
I don't feel like that's a unique reaction, to be honest. But yeah.
I agree. And so there's that, and then there's the enmeshment, the codependency for sure, that happened. And so Kelly, you and I mean, we've known each other since middle school, but
Mhm.
like actually became true friends,
Mhm.
ride or dies, if you will, like in towards the end of, towards the end of this relationship dynamic.
Yeah.
And thank God you knew me in middle school and high school, that you knew I wasn't like completely losing my mind. Because I felt like I was losing my mind.
So you were a new mom. You were doing this new business. You were finally feeling healthy, like you could take on the world to some respect. And then you had this person who was presenting themselves like the world's best cheerleader.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
I had never had a relationship get that intense that fast.
yeah.
And everything big.
And in the beginning, how did you feel like as you were, I mean, before now, and now you have like you would react very differently, but that Tasha at that time, what were your feelings as all this was going on?
Well, what's interesting is like the very first like couple interactions felt pretty like healthy and normal, right? And
Mhm.
so it's like, okay, this is fine. Like I didn't have any red flags at the beginning, but
Yeah.
it was only within probably the first couple months of us having conversations relatively regularly that like a huge red flag showed up, and I just brushed it off to the side. You know, I had like a 2-month-old baby, totally sleep deprived, all of the new mom hormones. A mom's brain actually rewires to be more
Mhm.
nurturing and protective. And so all of these things are happening internally. And I did not know that I had PTSD.
Mhm.
Didn't know that that's what I thought. It was new mom anxiety. I was like, man, this is a trip. Like, wow. No, it was like new mom anxiety, but also PTSD. Did not know that. And so one of the things I hope everybody realizes whenever you're talking to um, a mom, if you talk about something catastrophic that happens to another child, all parents do this, but I think also moms, like you instantly like feel the pain of that mom and worry about your own kids. So then you add on this intense conversation that we had where I was told something really horrible, like so horrible. I got off the phone and this was my fault. This is where I didn't set healthy boundaries because I was trying to be supportive and nurturing and caring. the person said, is this too much? And I said, it's okay. Like, I know you need to get it out. What I should have said is this type of conversation needs to happen with a professional. I'm
Mm,
professional. I'll definitely be thinking about you, praying for you. I can be supportive, but I can't handle this level of conversation. I didn't say that. So that was my fault. Right. And I got off the phone and I just sobbed, like uncontrollably, could not stop sobbing about this horror story. And then because I didn't have healthy boundaries from the beginning, it started spiraling really quickly, where I was trying to be like this supportive, encouraging person to somebody who claimed they had nobody in their life.
mm,
All of these people in their lives have caused incredible harm to them. So even though I had this warning sign of something's not right here, I ignored it. Even though I kept hearing you're the average of the 5 people you're around the most.
mm.
Whether that's true,
So,
it does feel true,
yeah.
you know?
So you had this sense of like superpower human, I need to save the day, you're a person of action.
Mhm.
That's something we both relate to.
And we
Um,
fix things,
yeah, we
right?
fix
Things
things.
wrong,
Yep.
find a
Yeah.
solution.
Yep. Yeah. And so, you have this person coming to you with this massive problem and you're like, go into fix it mode. And you did it heart first, as we so often do. And so I feel like the important thing about this, that maybe the takeaway from this little portion, is not that you can't be a fix it person or somebody that can help. It's just sometimes helping isn't jumping in heart first. Sometimes helping is stepping back and saying, "Whoa, I'm not the best person to help you."
Yeah.
Like, I can actually, if I try and do this, I could make it worse, which is the opposite of what anybody wants, or at least you hope, right?
Right.
And so helping is sometimes saying, I can't be that person.
Yeah.
And
Well,
thinking of that as help, not abandoning, not, you know, leaving somebody, but actually supporting them appropriately,
and
right?
what's hard is when that person comes back and says, I can't afford therapy, and that's what they desperately needed.
Hmm.
I have nobody in my life. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm so fortunate that whenever I've needed therapy, I've been able to find a way to make it happen. I've always had at least one friend in my life. I mean, even in 7th grade, right? Like I've always had at least one friend. I have a good family. Like I just can't imagine how scared this person must be. So not only was I waking up a lot of times with my newborn or infant, I would wake up in the middle of the night to check on this person and make sure they were okay.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so I really was not getting even probably full REM cycles when I was
Hmm.
sleeping, on top of all this other stuff, and feeling like I can't imagine being in this situation. Instead of, we had a mutual friend who actually was about the age that I am now. And this is what I would do
Hmm.
now that I'm older and wiser. This mutual friend said, I am not capable of helping you through this. So you need to go get professional help. And I can be your friend and encourage you, but I can't take this on. But at that time, when I was, about a decade younger, I'm thinking oh my goodness, I just can't imagine. I want to help this person who
Yeah.
I care very much about.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, and you being an empathizer, you put yourself in her shoes and thought, this is what I would want somebody to do for me
Yeah.
if I was in that situation.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
And on the flip side, being, a, a, a person with borderline personality disorder, they don't have the ability to do the opposite of that, to say, what am I doing to you when I put this on your lap? That typically is not factoring into the
Right.
equation.
Yeah. And really, this relationship dynamic impacted literally every area of my life other than my faith and like spiritual aspect of who I am. But every other area of my life was impacted in a negative way with this one relationship.
Yeah.
And it got so codependent and enmeshed, like I just couldn't quite get out of it. That person decided that I was no longer the good guy and I was like the bad guy. It changed pretty dramatically and was really hard, but I'm so grateful that if I'm going to be the villain in anybody's story, this is the person to do it, because it ultimately freed me from something that I couldn't do because I don't know how to quit and I don't know how to give up.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you mind sharing when things got to the point where you you crossed over from, wanting to be a good friend and wanting to be supportive to in too far, at least looking back retrospectively?
Oh, it happened pretty early. And I was like, I don't know how to get out of this. And I even talked to my husband. I was like, I don't know what to do. This person's dealing with really deep, heavy stuff. And I've also dealt with deep, heavy stuff. And so, what do you tell a person who's suicidal when you've been suicidal yourself?
Yeah.
You don't just say, go figure it out. Like, it's a cry for help. And so it was very early on that I thought, I don't know how I'm going to keep doing this. And so it was just like, get through this day, get through, this night. And then it was like the same thing over and over of, helping somebody, like you said, the way that I would want to be helped is like, although I would feel bad putting that on somebody else. So I don't know that I would have necessarily, like, it sounds so hypocritical. I don't know that I would want somebody to do what I did. Like, I would feel so guilty and bad. And I think on some level, this person started realizing like, oh, this is a lot that I'm asking of you. Like it kind of clicked. And they
Yeah.
felt bad, but
Well, and I mean, even 10 years ago, there were not as many resources as there are now for like people that are struggling with like thoughts of suicide.
yes, absolutely.
And
And I even tried admitting this person into a like 24-hour watch facility and like called one, and they, because it was out of their area, they wouldn't accept them. And I was like, I'm telling you right now, this person is not right. Like, definitely needs 24-hour watch right now. And is willing to come in. I finally got them to agree to come in. And so then it was like, okay, now what do I do? Like, the place that you actually call that has the professionals aren't going to help because it's out of, and I understand like legally and insurance, like I understand logically, but in that moment I'm like, okay, so that didn't work.
yeah, yeah. Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot to take on as a young mom, a lot as a young business owner. I mean, it's for anybody. That's a lot to take on, and the fact that you were doing it like sleep deprived, and I don't know. I feel like it's one of those situations where, like, when I imagine myself in that situation, I don't know if I would have done it any differently. You know,
I
like
appreciate that. I really do.
like
'Cause
I can see how you would want to help in any way that you possibly could. And also there's this fear that if something goes wrong, somehow, you don't want to be that person that thought I should have done more.
yeah,
I could have done more. Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
would have been my fault. Guilt wasn't like the motivator by any
Yeah.
means, but I thought, I'm not trying to wear like a cape here and be like
Yeah.
superhero. I'm trying to do the right thing.
Right.
I'm doing what I feel like is the right thing, even though it's so hard. And unfortunately, a lot of times the right thing is the hard thing, but
Right.
it shouldn't have to be this hard, right? Like
Right.
it shouldn't be
Right.
taking on more than what we should. So
So after all of this happens, and you're working with this person, they're integrated into your life. What happened that turned the tide? When did things start to fall apart? When did she start to make you the villain, or when did you start to see that shift in your relationship?
Yeah, it was subtle at first, as it tends to be, right? And it was when a new hero came into the story.
Mhm.
And my understanding is that people with borderline personality disorder typically have one hero.
Mm.
And I was happy for this person. I thought, okay, I also had a lot of other things going on in my personal life at the exact same time, like moving.
Mhm.
Mom had been in an accident. So I was, wanting to make sure she was okay,
Yeah.
building businesses, like so many things happening at the same time. And I thought, okay, this is okay. Like, this is good
Mhm.
timing, right?
Yeah.
And then it was when we were with our mutual friend. And this is such an embarrassing story that I would ever think this way or say something like this. And you've known me for so long, you're going to be like, that does not sound like you. But I got like a box of chocolates, because this person used to play like a game where you like try to guess what you're going to eat before you eat it. And so we did that a couple times. I thought, it's been a long time since we've done that. So I grabbed that box of chocolates, and I couldn't find one that made sense on the cover of like on the actual box, like the wording. So it was something like, I can't remember. It was something very like arrogant that I turned around and made it about me, of like, you're so lucky to have me kind of. It was really a weird,
Yeah.
arrogant, like insincere gift that was actually sincere. And we were at this mutual friend's house, and I handed it to this person number two, and like made this like little arrogant, like, you're welcome, like you have me, like something so lame that I have never said to anybody. And I saw the mutual friend give a look. I was like, oh, person two's going to our mutual friend and has made me the villain. And it was the flash of like, I should have just left right then and gotten out.
Oh, wow. So it was that interaction, the nonverbal interaction between those two that
I knew, because I said, I
wow.
was thinking like, oh, you used to be part of a villain here. I've heard bad things
Mm.
about this mutual friend that made me question their integrity, their character. And I thought, oh, the tables have turned now. And then person two also made like a little jab at my older daughter. Like, she wasn't around, but said something where I was like, okay. I didn't even say anything because I was so taken aback. I was like, I can't believe that she said that about my daughter.
Yeah.
And then, and it wasn't horrible. It was just like a little jab. And I was like, man, okay. And then like we hung out. And then the next day, we hung out. And when I left, I just knew, I was like, this is bad.
Mm.
This is really like, I don't know how to handle this now, because I know how this person works. So now that I am truly the villain, I had suspicions. Now I know that I'm the bad guy. What do I do?
Yeah. What did you do?
I actually left the ball in their court and let them like break it off, and
Yeah.
struggled with them breaking it off, because I was like, I don't know how to do this. And we had a conversation. It was like a can you talk kind of thing. And I'm like, oh no. We had a conversation where I literally had like a mental breakdown on the phone, like sobbing, talking in circles. I didn't even make sense, because I said something in the beginning of the phone call that I just spouted something off, not thinking like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. And this person was really mad, like, you knew? And I was like, and they're like, you knew and didn't tell me? I was like, wait a minute. Like, it was a feeling. I shouldn't have even said it. And they turned the whole conversation around at being mad at me for suspecting something and not speaking up.
You were suspecting that they were going to be manipulative and talk behind your back, and
This was
that
something,
was your fault.
well, we were working on a project and the person was
Oh,
stopping the project, right?
right.
So I just had a feeling like
Mhm.
months prior that they were going to say that. And that's what made them so mad, was that I had a suspicion that they were going to stop working on this particular project and I didn't say something and got very mad. So then I start like crying because I'm like, oh my goodness, like here we go.
Right. Right.
Like, you know what has hit the fan? Oh man. So I'm like crying and then I'm like talking in circles of like, I've just had so much going on. And it sounded, oh my word. So like, oh my word, the conversation would be very different now.
Yeah.
And so then the person was like, I just need some time. I was like, okay, which I've never had from a friend, saying that you
Yeah.
need like time apart. I was like, okay. So I was still like liking this person's Facebook stuff to show like I'm not mad, like it's fine, like I want you to be
Yeah.
happy, like we can still. And then my daughter was having a really hard time with it. And um I messaged this person, was like, hey, can you at least just like do a video for my kid? Like having a really hard time, having nightmares, just really a hard time. And they refused and said, stop doing this to me. And I'm like, okay. And I blocked the person immediately from my phone. I thought, I'm done. That was like the icebreaker, like the deal breaker.
Yeah. The deal
Like,
breaker.
you hurt my baby. I'm done.
Yeah. When you were struggling with person two, or they started pushing you away, there was that I've got to fix this compelled you to double down
Oh,
in
I
many ways.
did. Yeah.
And
So
and
embarrassing.
and they kept pushing because they had their new hero. They didn't need you. You were um not giving them what they needed. And so any kind of, interaction, it sounds like, would have been taking from them or not giving them what they needed. So it didn't need to happen anymore.
And also what I think is interesting is I was told how like mean everybody was to this person when we were first starting out our relationship. And so I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. That's awful. And so like I'm fine with like dry sense of humor. I've got brothers, so we kind of pick and tease. Like,
Sure.
right. And so that doesn't bother me. But what I noticed is the longer we interacted, the more I started picking on them because the reaction was so big and like playful and funny. And towards the end, when I started reflecting, I was like, I was being a friend, like unlike I've ever been before.
Hmm.
Like, I don't tease and pick on my friends,
Yeah.
right? I'm the encourager and definitely not a perfect friend, but I'm encouraging and supportive. And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, because of the reaction, it was like almost like I was trained in a way to become like these other people. The
Hmm.
reaction was big and playful and like teasing. I was like, wow. So there were so many layers to this of me becoming very sarcastic and just not being me as much
Hmm.
more. And that's my own fault because I choose my words, thoughts, and actions.
Hmm.
Also, give a lot of grace to myself of
Yeah.
seeing how it spiraled. It doesn't excuse it, but like there's a level of grace and understanding of where it came from.
Yeah. I like what you said at the beginning of this conversation, where you said, it's not that you like run for the hills anytime you sniff somebody who might have that borderline personality disorder.
Right.
You just now know better how to interact.
Mhm.
And I think that that's an important thing to talk about, because nowhere in any of this are we trying to say that these people, person one or person two, have ruined your life and made it, they're not to blame necessarily for the things that we've learned or taken away, but you have learned things and you have taken things away and you will now operate differently because of it. So I
Yeah.
kind of want to talk about that. Like what takeaways have you gotten? What personal lessons have you learned or things that you do now differently in relationships because of what you've taken from these two?
Yeah, I so many things. One of the
Oh,
things I did right away was I started reflecting on what was my role. Person one was completely blindsided. That was like such a different scenario. And I don't ever want to see that person ever again.
yeah.
And I wish everybody could know who it is and what they are because it's awful. Person two, don't want to be friends with them anymore, but don't have anger or hard feelings. I want this person to be very happy and healthy and well, right? So the first thing I did was like, what was my role in
Yeah.
creating this dynamic? And why was I so codependent? So I started like reading like about codependency and where that can come from and how to be clear on boundaries. I read the book Boundaries. And I also, really apologized to my husband because it impacted our marriage for sure.
Mhm.
And I told him, I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to make this right and to never allow it to happen again. That's the
Mhm.
only thing I can do, And I also just said, whatever you want to tell me, go ahead. And I sat there for a while, and he's usually a man of few words, but he had some words for me. And it
Mhm.
wasn't mean by any means, but I sat there and I listened. I did not defend myself. I did not try to get him to see my side. I just listened and let him tell me. And I said, I'm really sorry,
Yeah.
like truly sorry. And I'm going to keep learning about this. And then over time, if I learn something new, I'd say, hey, I just read this and did not realize this. And so now I'm more aware. And so whenever I've had new friendships, I'm more cautious.
Yeah.
And I also pay attention very closely to compliments. If it is a compliment that makes the other person look good by complimenting you, that's not a true compliment. If it is a compliment where it feels like they're stroking your ego or giving you fluff or really like elevating it to a level where you're like, this is like a little big of a compliment for this moment, like those are signs that I pay attention to is when somebody says kind things to you, not that you want to dismiss it or not accept it,
Mhm.
but be aware, especially if it's a new person. Um, and then I also have like my inner circle of tried and true friends that if something feels off, I might go to them and be like, do you think I'm like, it's a little, I don't want to say PTSD, but it's a little triggering. It's a little upsetting because of what I've been through. Or do you think this is like actually something I should pay attention to?
Yeah.
And, because you don't want to, there's a fine line between intuition and bad experiences,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and then the thing, like if anybody's been through this experience, I know for me, one of the best things that I did to help me get through it was sorry, Kelly, you were one of the recipients of this. I obsessively talked about person two for a while with like all of my friends that I've had for a long time because I had so much shame.
Mm.
And the beautiful thing is like you and Rochelle, like all of our, like my close friends who've known me for a long time and they know my heart, they know who I am. All of you listened, understood, and did not for a second shame me. And it allowed me to realize like, oh, I'm being too hard on myself. And I know all of you even said that at times. You're like, you're being too hard on yourself. Like, give yourself a break.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, it's okay. You're still a good person.
And I also want to add to that, being one of your people. I don't know person two. I
No,
don't have any interaction with person two. And so there's a couple of elements to that. First of all, you weren't impacting the way that I would interact. And I think that's an important thing to note is obviously
for saying that
that-
because I did not talk to any mutual friends about it.
yeah, Right.
I did outside of that for sure, because I didn't want to bash them.
Yeah. So I feel like that's an important thing. And then I think the other thing too is if you're the person that is being an advocate or that person that's sounding board for another human, I think it's important to remember that you're hearing the story from their perspective. And so it's it's important to remember that your role as a friend is is to be a support to your friend, to be a sounding board, to share intuition and ideas, but then to also remember that, again, we're not professionals. Put the cape away. There are going to come moments if you're having these kinds of conversations and they get to be like too heavy. As a friend, we can also set those own boundaries, even, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and I even know like there's been some things I've been through where maybe we'd get together and I dictated our entire time together. We don't usually do that, right? We like have this
Sure.
flow of conversation. And I remember there was one time with another situation, I was like, I am so sorry. Like I took our entire time. And both you and Rochelle were like, no, this was necessary. And don't ever apologize for that about this because it was necessary. So on both sides, right? Like be aware of what's okay and what's not and speak up on both sides. I also think it's important, like my inner circle, they don't just compliment me, pat me on the back, all of that. Like if I'm ever out of line, all of you care about me enough and we have enough respect between each other that like there was one thing that I did and I still stand by the decision that I made, even though it looks really bad. I even checked with a therapist. I was like, did I do the right thing? Because I feel like I did. And I remember what I told you, and your eyes kind of got big, and you're like, well, I could see where that would look bad. And I was like, no, I get why this mutual friend is really upset with me right now. I get it, because they're not going to give me the benefit of the doubt. They're not going to really right? They think that they're standing up for person two, but I did it in the kindest possible way that I could muster at the time. And I still would do it the same way.
Yeah.
Whether anybody else agrees or disagrees, like, but I could see where it was like misconstrued and taken really bad, right? But you didn't just like say, well, you did the right thing. You're like, well.
It's because it's what I would want. It's what I would want. So, okay. So boundaries obviously are a big part of all your relationships moving forward. The compliments thing is something now that is careful. Oh, do you have any advice for people who want to be encouragers and they want to give compliments, but they also don't want to come across as disingenuous or, do you have any advice for people that want to speak kindness and truth to people, but not in a way that,
freaks people out?
Yeah. I don't want anybody to be like, well, I'm not giving any more compliments because apparently everybody hates them now.
People are going to have like a compliment complex.
Yeah, right.
My word. Well, first of all, like when it's a new person, like be mindful of not just fluffing them up, right? So you can give like a 1 or 2 liner compliment, but if you keep going on and on, or if every time you see them, you're like, oh my goodness, you're just so amazing, or that's incredible, or do you realize how phenomenal you are? It's like, okay, wait a minute. But if you think of something specific, like what is it specific that you feel like is phenomenal about this person, right? So like Kelly, I get the unique situation of getting to see you work.
Yeah.
And I love seeing how you lead a team because you listen, you think very quickly, and you take action to make sure everything goes smoothly, but people are heard, they're respected, but you make the decisions and make things happen, right? Like that's a compliment where it's like, I mean, I could be like, Kelly, do you know who you are? Like how amazing you are, right?
Yeah.
right? But when I say something specific about what I see in you, and it's a character trait, it's something that I see in you, those compliments, I think, also carry more weight. But I don't want people to have a compliment complex. Like, it's on me if I get worried about somebody giving me a compliment. I don't expect other people to adapt, because time reveals all truth. So if you're a genuine person, if I give you a long enough time period, either a mask comes off and I see the real you, or it's like, oh, that's who that person is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point. So how long did it take for you to get through the aftermath of that relationship?
So you're cutting out again, which is fine. I think you said, how long did it take me to get through kind of like healing from this friendship or this relationship? Yeah, it took, oh my, probably a few years to really feel calmer and at peace about it, because it did impact so many areas of my life. I felt the weight of it so many different places. And so, oh my goodness, it's been, I don't even know how many years, like at least I don't know how many years it's been. It's been many, many years since this relationship was in existence, like 7 years.
I was going to say, yeah.
And I finally am doing some specific projects with people without so much anxiety about it. I'm still cautious and I still put things in place and just say, hey, like, you just never know what's going to happen. But it's taken me this long to finally be like, okay, I think that I can do this project now with this person, because I do feel like they're going to be okay to work with, and it's going to be all right.
Yeah, trusting yourself again, basically. You're like, yeah. And I think that that's an important thing to note too, is that it takes time. You know, when you go through something like that, when you've had a a breakup, if you will. I mean, it truly was, you know, as much of a severing of a relationship as it would be if it had been romantic, or if it had been, you know, a family member.
Right.
And it does take time. And so if you've gone through something like that, and maybe it's been a year, even 2 years, and you're still dealing with it, that's
normal.
kind of, yeah, that's normal. You're not a broken person just because you're struggling with it.
Right.
Right. It takes time, you know?
Yeah. Well, and also what's kind of tricky about life is you don't just get to like pick like, oh, I'm dealing with this hard thing, so nothing hard can happen.
Right.
So, like, dealing with person 1 and person 2 kind of happened like boom, boom. And then I had 3 immediate people in my life who could have died within a year of each other. And so one of which was my daughter, who I saw literally, like, saw her fighting for her life surrounded by teams of people. Like, if you're in the PICU and you have teams of people, that's very scary.
Yeah.
And so seeing that, and then, you know, there was another big dynamic situation that happened that is very common, that happens with people, but really big, that was a struggle. And so it was just like, boom. I mean, I just could not
Catch your breath. You couldn't,
yeah. So to like even give, well, it only took this length of time. I don't even really know, because it was such a blur of really big, unprecedented things, you know, like my daughter being in the PICU. That was a fluke thing, right? Like, how many people have seen a child or a baby cry with food in their mouth? You don't worry that they're going to aspirate it and end up fighting for their life in the PICU. Like, you just can't, you know. So just so many of these things were also just like kind of uncontrollable. And the one thing that I knew for sure, because of experience and age and wisdom and all of that that you gain, is there can't, other than my daughter, that one, I if I lost her, like, that would have just completely destroyed me. No mom should ever
Hmm.
ever have to lose a child. But as far as like these other things, I would tell myself, I haven't been through this thing, but I have confidence everything will be okay. I do know that because it's true in life. There's ebbs and flows and there's hard times, but good times come again. I don't know when. I'd like it to come soon,
Yeah.
but I don't know when. But I do know, and I know that I can get through this
Yeah.
next thing, even though I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, right?
You don't know how, but you just know you'll figure it out.
Yeah. And it's not an arrogance, it's just this confidence that you build up that
Mhm.
you just know, like, okay.
Well, and I feel like that speaks directly to what your project is, what your business is now. Is part of the reason why you're able to face these hard things is because you've built a toolbox of skills and mindsets over the years that have given you the resources you need to do that.
Mm.
And so that truly is that's the heart of Little Shot, right?
Yeah.
It's how can you help young people start to develop their toolbox of skills and concepts and mindsets so that when they grow up inevitably facing things,
Mhm.
you know, how are they going to handle it?
It's really the foundation of everything that I'm doing. Diary of a Dreamer, my Little Shop business, when I speak with adults and do public speaking, it really is taking all of these things that I have learned, and it's not flashy fun marketing, so it's not like what you're going to see everywhere, but it's like I just want people to be able to live better.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's not
Right.
to take away all of your problems, but I mean, there's been times where I've read my own Little Shot books when like my brain was so foggy and everything was so hard. And I'm like, I know that this has something in it that I need to hear right now. I need to read it. These are my own words from my own life. And I'll just kind of read through it like, okay, yep, that's right. This is what I do now.
Yeah.
And so I do really feel like it's a privilege and a responsibility to take these things that I've experienced and help as many people as I can. And I feel very driven because we really need a lot of these things right now in our country to help people come together and to stay strong.
In the world, I'll be honest,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
bigger than just our country, and it's things that aren't getting more, they're not getting more simplified, they're only getting more complicated, and being a kid it's harder every year.
Yeah.
The challenges that they face, and you know it's it's not going to get easier per se, but I do think that the more people who are thinking about things in the way that you're trying to teach, it is going to help make a difference. It is the kind of concept, driven um, philosophy that helps guide people to make good decisions that are about supporting each other and about making the right choices even if they're hard, and about facing hard things and managing challenges, but in a way that's encouraging and ultimately hope building.
Thank you. That, I mean, truly, like, it kind of helps me make sense of some of the things I've been through.
Yeah.
I can turn around and be like, well, I'm not saying my way is the only way, and I'm not even saying
Oh.
it's the best way, but it is something that's helped me.
Hmm.
If I can help somebody else, like you said, have some hope that things will be okay and that you do have it within you. You have
Hmm.
things inside of you already that tells me and gives me confidence that whatever you're going through, like, you're going to get through it. You don't have to struggle as much.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other thing. I think pain is inevitable. We all experience pain, but suffering, there is a level of choice in suffering.
Mm.
And so sometimes and I've done it to myself, where maybe I've suffered more, I've struggled more, I've put too much pressure on myself, I've set the bar way too high sometimes. Shocking. No, you're
That's not like you.
I know. And so it's like a self-inflicted suffering. Like we don't need to suffer. I'm a big fan of doing like hard things and challenging
Yeah.
yourself, but it doesn't have to be to the point where it's detrimental and suffering and causing more pain than is necessary.
Yeah. That's a really good point. And, you know, the thing about pain is that it is exhausting. And I'm, you know, in that space in my life right now where I need all of my energies that I can possibly keep.
I know, I know it's so funny. Like when I turned 40, which is wild because at one point that was like my big goal was to make it to
Right.
40 years old, right? And I make
Yeah.
it to 40 and I'm like, here we go. Like, you know, my kids are in school all day. I can really focus on my business and really be more present as a mom when they're home. And like I've hit 40, like there's nothing I can't do. And then perimenopause was like,
Hey.
on you. And then I was like, wait a minute. I think this has been going on for years. This isn't new. It's just finally really here full throttle.
And I think some of it too is like, you know, maybe so much other stuff has been bigger
Yes.
that with when you clear all of the big stuff or that other stuff out of the way, finally it's like my turn to get your attention.
I really do think that. Like I
Yeah.
kind of personify perimenopause and you have to laugh and find
Yeah.
ways. But here again, I'm choosing not to suffer.
Yeah.
I'm getting help. I'm getting resources. Doesn't mean every day is super easy and awesome, but I'm having a lot more easier days and a lot more days where it's like, oh, it wasn't as hard. Right. And I think that that's really important that we do that for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tasha, this has been a true honor and delight to get to hear your story. And I feel like, you know, some folks maybe on the outside that don't know your story or hearing it for the first time, they might, you know, thought, oh well, Tasha, she's like practically perfect in every way and doesn't struggle with anything. And you know, that's why she can say so many encouraging things because she doesn't know hardship. But I feel like, you know, hopefully this helps them see that it's quite the opposite, that you come from a place of empathy and love, and you're speaking to people that are just like you, and in the struggle, and that's it's very genuine, you know, and I can speak firsthand to that. So
Thank you.
um,
I
yeah.
appreciate that because somebody that we went to high school with
Mhm.
did on something I shared on or commented on something that I posted on Facebook that they really thought I had the perfect life.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, nobody. Every single person that you walk past has
Yeah.
been through something.
Yeah.
That if they shared their story would probably bring you to tears or at least give you more compassion.
Mhm.
And so it is really important that we extend kindness to each other and give the benefit of the doubt, not more than we need to. We've learned that lesson.
Boundaries.
And so that we do that for each other, you know?
You can still love someone and have boundaries.
Absolutely.
You
Yes.
know, you there's ways to do that, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you, Kelly, doing this with me too. And
Yes.
you know, I hope that there's people listening, or at least even one person who says that it makes them feel encouraged that we had these conversations and that they know that whatever hard thing they are going through or will be going through someday, that it's going to be okay. And they
Yeah.
can do it. And so, and thank you also for being such a safe person. Because a lot of this, I mean, there are times my heart would be racing or I'd be kind of sweaty, like, okay, it's Kelly. It's okay to talk about this. I didn't think about anybody who was listening. I just thought I'm just talking with my friend Kelly. And so thank you for being that person and somebody that I just love and respect so much.
Truly my pleasure, my honor. I adore you. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for being honest and candid.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Diary of a Dreamer. I hope you found the stories and tips shared today to be a source of motivation and strength. Remember, every challenge you face is a chance to grow and move closer to your dreams. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with anyone who could use a boost of encouragement. Please check out my website, TashaIsinger.com.